I do. I found it along the path. I expect the Count will want the gendarmerie informed. The stablemaster pursed his lips. The master doesn't like trouble. No, sir, I can't see him wanting the gendarmerie fussing about the grounds. I blinked at him. Are you suggesting that I ignore it? No, nothing of the sort. I would pass it off to Grimes if I were you. He'll know how to handle it. No need to bother the Count. Right then. I inclined my head slightly as I continued up the path. Chateau Leblanc was growing clearer now, rising like a refuge from the dark forest. Just the sight loosened some of the dread coiled in my chest. I stepped into the clearing, surveying the hedge maze briefly before returning to the house, a white 3-story chateau, sprawling and elegant. Ivy climbed up the side of the building, clinging to the stone and threatening to crowd in on the windows. It reminded me briefly of La Vallée, my ancestral home, and a pang of sadness tugged at my chest before I banished the thought and refocused on the task at hand. I strode purposely towards the servants' entrance before hesitating on the doorstep, wondering how appropriate it was to bring such a vile thing indoors. I reached out for the bell, pausing as I heard footsteps approach from behind. Glancing back, I saw the stablemaster had followed me. He nodded, sidestepping me and opening the door. I'll do you the favour of fetching Grimes. I appreciate it, I said, and nodded back, surprised by his thoughtfulness, if not outright relieved. It spared me the undesirable task of surprising the butler. Given that Grimes held my employment in his hands, I did not want to get on his bad side or cause him any unnecessary grief that would look unfavourably on me. Esteem was everything for a servant. A disturbance from the drive caught my attention. A cloud of dust bloomed into the air on the tail of a small carriage pulled by a single horse, its head lifted proudly as it clopped along the gravel. Not visitors to the chateau. This carriage was far too simple for nobility. Plus, the servants' hall would have been abuzz with the impending arrival of any guests. Dupont! I blinked at the name before realising it was the last name I'd adopted to conceal my true surname. I scrambled to attention as Grimes stepped out from the servants' entrance, the stablemaster at his heels. Grimes's eyes immediately sought the offending article in my hand, and he grimaced before holding a kerchief to his face, as if the mere thought of the hand was revolting to him. The butler's eyes darted up as the carriage drew nearer, and he nodded to the stablemaster. That's the doctor now. Intercept him as he's coming out of his carriage and be discreet about it. The stablemaster bowed his head slightly before taking off around the front of the chateau. The doctor, I asked. Is someone ill? Grimes waved a dismissive hand. Mrs. Blake is having one of her pains again. You know how fragile women are. I fought the urge to roll my eyes. Ah, so the masters of the house are in good health, I said. Mrs. Blake was the cook. Good to hear. I should think so, Grimes agreed, standing taller. The family would hardly be seen by a country doctor, much less an apprentice, when they have their own personal doctor who comes up from the monastery. That's the sort of efficiency I can get behind, Mr. Dupont. Medical needs and spiritual needs all rolled into one individual, caring for the body and the soul. As you say, I said, not knowing how else to respond. I'd seen a monk in the house previously, so this must have been the family's doctor he spoke of. He'd seemed cold and off-putting, to be honest. But then again, I'd never been one for religion. I'd gone to church with my family and attended with the servants now, but I would hardly say I was devout. I only went to keep up appearances. In another minute, the stablemaster had returned, slightly out of breath, with a man behind him carrying a doctor's bag. Mr. Valancourt, Grimes greeted the doctor. So good of you to come. The pleasure is all mine, Valancourt assured him, flashing a mouthful of pearly white teeth as he tilted his head at the butler. I stared at the doctor openly. Rather rude, I knew, but he was probably the most beautiful man I'd ever laid eyes on. I recalled that Grimes had referred to him as an apprentice, which led me to believe that he was only a year or two older than me. Handsome and smart, I thought, drinking him in. That was a winning combination, in my opinion. Valancourt had a dark complexion, his hair shaved close along the sides, but with a crown of obsidian curls. I wondered briefly if his family was from Africa or the Caribbean islands. His smile was roguish, with dimples appearing at the corners of his mouth that sent pangs through me.